Thank you, team, for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here today at Strategy Fest 2022 and feel really privileged to be talking to all of you today and about something which is really close to my heart and obviously close to all of yours, which is creating a great strategy to build and grow a business to move it forward. And I really love the theme of today being joining the strategy revolution. It really got me thinking about, well, how do you create that in a business? What is the repeatable measure that you need to be able to take a business forward with great strategy and with such momentum that it becomes a revolution? And well, what I want to talk to you about today is this concept in my mind of strategy being an ongoing story or conversation within a business, and demystifying strategy as being this once-off magical decision made in the strategy room by an executive or a solitary team. When in fact, great strategy and all the great examples of brilliant businesses that have grown over time, Amazon, Disney, Apple, are all examples of strategy that has been developed as a journey. Choices and decisions made over time that have collectively led those businesses to amazing growth. And certainly that's been my experience over the last 10 years working in consumer goods and specifically the beverage industry. Over that 10-year period, our business was taken over not once, not twice, but 3 times. And what that required of us was a super clear vision, a very clear strategy and set of priorities that our people understood, knew, and could execute collectively. And what we found over that time was we grew our market share, we grew our top line, we improved our operating margin, but most importantly, our people were more engaged than ever, and they understood the vision and the strategy very, very clearly and the role they then played in delivering that. And so what I'd love to talk to you all about today is really 2 tangible learnings that I've taken from my time and that I'd like to share with you all about how you can create that great strategy story and hopefully create a revolution in your own business. Now, what I want to start with is the first learning, which is creating a really simple and motivational vision for your people. Now, a lot of us, I should say, have watched the very famous TED Talk by Simon Sinek, Starting with Why, a really brilliant framework around how to actually motivate people and inspire them by describing and defining what is the why of a business. Now, if we all sit back though and ask ourselves, have we actually done this practically in our respective businesses? I think all of you, if you went out into your teams today and you asked 10 people in your team to write down the vision statement of your company, you would probably get a wide number of answers. And what that is a symptom of is, in my mind, a lack of simplicity and understanding of the vision of a business. And if you look at many of the great examples of super successful companies over the last 10, 15, 20 years, there's one thing they all have in common. And that is a really clear, simple vision that their business and people can understand and coalesce behind. Now, in my mind, this has become even more important in recent years, where we've had an acceleration from top-down, centralized, push-based leadership to a more decentralized, empowering form of leadership, which is seeking to really pull and motivate the organization forward. And certainly in a hybrid world where people are decentralized, you don't have them face-to-face, you don't have those rituals and symbols in the office available to you all the time representing the strategy, perhaps even having it on the door, it becomes increasingly important to be able to define and easily communicate that vision to your people. And that was certainly made clear to us over the last 2 years when we had to integrate with another acquiring company and give that clarity of vision and strategy through that period for all of our people, notwithstanding the fact that we're all working remotely. Now, one of the things I would leave you all with today as well is to think very carefully, I should say, about how to motivate your people. I think sometimes we tend to oversimplify the way we communicate and assume that everyone has the same motivational drivers, when actually different teams, different business units within your business will require a different method of communication, different language, because they'll all be motivated by different things. So for example, a team that may be subject to a takeover, if you're an acquiring business or if you're expanded into a new region, you may need to be talking to those people and touching on their motivational factors such as seeking job certainty and understanding their role in the future of the company, as opposed to speaking to a team that's taking investment for innovation and growth, where you may want to be talking to them about those motivational factors such as innovation, new opportunity and development that might be inspiring for them. What's important to understand is that everyone's motivated by different things, and how you bring your vision to life with your people is going to be really important. So think carefully about the audience and think carefully about how you make that vision relatable and applicable to them so they can be inspired by it, motivated by it, and take it forward with you as a journey. Now, if we get to the second learning, and this is a really important one that I wanted to share, it's really shifting that mindset of strategy being an annual process, an annual strategy planning process, to an ongoing journey, an ongoing conversation of your business, where you're constantly adjusting and adapting to the market around you. Now, many of you will have been in this room before, the strategy room, the wonderful annual process that we've all been through. In fact, many of you on the line are probably going through this process right now, where you chart the strategy for the next 12 months. Now, this process is really common across most businesses. It's linked to our budgeting cycles, but unfortunately, it doesn't give us the responsiveness that we need to make great strategy happen. And this has been exacerbated over the last 12, 18 months, where all businesses have been required to be far more adaptable, far more agile, and far more resilient to the moving market conditions. Certainly we have in the last 2 years. And so what I want to encourage everyone on this call to do is to think about introducing a faster cadence on strategy conversations. Now, these don't have to be a monthly refresh of the strategy. In fact, that's not what it is about at all. It's about having rigorous conversations with your top team about the key strategic programs or parts of your portfolio that are driving the business forward. Rather than having a once a year conversation about priorities and where we should be betting for growth, you should be having those conversations constantly. You want to be looking to prioritize those things on a regular basis. Now, some companies have adopted OKRs, quarterly prioritization. You can do it 6 monthly. You can also do it monthly. Whatever it is, you want to introduce a constant conversation with your top team on the priorities and how you take those forward. And a couple of other little tips that I'd share with all of you to take forward as well in this respect. And I should encourage you all, there's a great book specifically on this topic called Beyond the Hockey Stick, which is really worth reading. And a couple of other really tangible things that you can do, making sure that you don't have a huge number of portfolio initiatives that you're trying to take forward. The reality is that in today's world and in most businesses, you can only have the capacity to deliver a small number of major strategic initiatives within your business, 10, 15, 20 at most. Now, you want to really prioritize and make sure you're assessing those rigorously on a regular basis. The second thing I'd really encourage you to do, and whether that's with the top team in your business or within broader teams, leaders across your organization, is to get really comfortable making hard decisions. Prioritization is a term thrown around in many companies, but most companies feel like they're doing too much. And so you need to get the business really comfortable making hard choices, prioritizing. And ultimately, that is the role of not just a strategy professional, a strategy team member, but any good leader. And so being able to look between multiple options, look objectively around why we would go down a certain path, why we would make a certain choice, and then deciding definitively and going down that path is a really important skill to build in your leadership muscle. And so I'd really encourage you all to go away and to think about how can you actually make your teams comfortable making choice and holding true to those decisions as you move forward. And what we've got here on the screen is just a summary of a few of those tips that you can take forward to make sure you are taking those regular strategy conversations. You're bringing that cadence much more regularly into your organization versus the 1 year strategy plan. And what you'll find is that that's how great strategy is built, by making the hard decisions, the choiceful decisions, more often. It is not a yearly process. Make it a more regular process and bring that into the heart of your organizational systems. And so to summarize, I really wanted to just land with you all today. How can you create that strategy journey? Don't think of strategy as being a once-off, once-a-year process that you create a PowerPoint, you communicate it, and everyone lives happily ever after. In fact, the examples, the great examples, the inspiring examples of great leaders and great strategy over time has actually been that you make many choices. Some of those are good, some of those are bad. But if you create the systems where you're constantly having those conversations, it's supported by a clear vision that is communicated and is motivational for your people, and you're constantly revisiting how to deliver against that vision, well, you will create a great strategy story in your business. And over time, you'll build the momentum to turn that into a revolution. Now, thanks again for the time and opportunity to speak to you all today. I hope I've shared some interesting insights and some really practical learnings, and look forward to speaking to many of you moving forward if we ever get the chance. Thank you.